All right, get ready to hit the Oxford, Mississippi, play against an Ole Miss team that's charged up and is playing good basketball. They lost a tough one to LSU, but it's the next game on our schedule, and they're playing well. Obviously, we're aware of Terrence Davis and what he's capable of doing. He's had some pretty good games against us. Then Tyree is playing really awful well for that basketball team. And they've added some other pieces to that team, and of course, I think Kermit has done a good job of really utilizing the talents that these guys have. They're, I think, perimeter oriented, a team guys that can get 30, they can really score. And then defensively, they mix it up. So I think they're playing awful well at home, and so it's going to be when the Hogs and the Rebels get together, it's going to be a ball game. So it's one of those states that sits next to us. So it's a big game. It's a big game from a lot of different ways. It's opportunity for us to rebound after playing against a very, very talented Tennessee team that really took us to the woodshed. And what I mean by that, they hit us early, and we contributed to that too. I thought we played on our heels, and so going back out on the road, you don't want to do that. So lessons learned for our basketball team. I think that's the key. When you play against a team of that caliber and they're playing well, you got to play some of your best basketball. And what I liked the fight in our guys. I thought we had some guys out there in the second half that you could have folded the tent, but they didn't. And so I'm looking to get that fighting spirit, that kind of mindset, and add execution to it, and go and play against a Ole Miss team that's playing well. It's life in the SEC, and you got to have short-term memory and get ready for those next games.
Yes, with the physicality that Tennessee played with, how do you fight through the frustrations where you end up getting more charged for more fouls than they did?
Well, it's a learning curve for our young basketball team, and I talk about it in practice, and they gripe about it. I have that no blood, no foul rule in practice, and they gripe about it. But now they see what I mean when I talk about going on the road and playing in a hostile environment. And the officials are human too; they get caught up in it as well. And so, but how do we combat that? We got to have I think a mental toughness and the physical presence that you talked about. We just got to strap it up and go out and fight. I think that's the biggest key. You got to be able to go out and fight.
Do you think Isaiah got through that freshman wall on Tuesday?
You know what? I just saw him play in a different mindset. I thought him kind of elevate his play up. I thought of his intensity. I thought, as I told my guys, I just saw the fighting spirit that I've been looking for in this team, and so hopefully that's growing for these young guys, because it's one thing that they're gonna play you a certain way. Well, then you got to make that adjustment, and I'm hoping he's starting to make that adjustment, and there's a carryover into the next game.
Mike, Ole Miss was thought of as one of the surprise teams, so to speak, in the SEC. At 3-0, what were they doing? Like, how did they look different than last year's team? And then what did LSU do against them that kind of dulled their momentum?
Well, I think LSU size was a big factor in the game, and then of course you got one of the better guards in the Tremont Waters kid. I mean, he had some big plays for him, but they got different guys making big plays for them. And when you talk about LSU, but I think with Ole Miss, I think they always have been an athletic team. And now I think they're realizing some of the strengths that they have. Their guard play is their strength, and guys can attack, they can score, and Kermit's did a good job of mixing and matching their defense. I think they're playing through their strengths. It's what they're doing. The Stevens kid, I think he gives them a veteran guy that's been there now for a year. The big kid, I think they're utilizing him. What's his name? Dominique, I call him Dominique. That's what I call him, okay? The Schuler kid, he had a year on his belt. I just think sometimes, when I think Kermit has kind of inserted a sense of urgency. Defensively, they're better. And then offensively, I think they execute.
I wanted to ask you about you were 1-3 the last 2 years in conference. Started 1-3. What can you draw from that? And I mean, project forward from being at that point before and improving.
A lot of basketballs left to be played, and we hadn't been playing chopped liver. Our league is really, really good, and if you don't show up, and I hate to keep saying it, but for the most part, we've been every game. We've been right there, a possession, a free throw here, with the exception of the Tennessee game. But even in that game, I thought in the second half, I think we showed the team that we can become. And so I think the key is now is just let's build on the things that are positive that we've been doing, and continue to value the basketball. I think you get to that free throw line to make it. And I think we got to get defensive. I think that's what's got to take place now. And we've been this. You're absolutely right when you said that. When you just said that, it clicked on me. We all of a sudden we got defensive. We got stingy with our defense. Our offense started clicking in. It's that time now to start putting a lot of things together. You get more players out there that can help our basketball team. I think one of the biggest signs was when you put a guy like Reggie Chaney out there. And a lot of good things are taking place with him out there on the floor now. So I just think our depth is starting to formulate, and at some point in time, we got to take advantage of that.
Coach, when you have a player going through a slump, maybe like Adrio Bailey is a little bit here, how do you help build his confidence back up?
Well, he's got to do it in practice. I think, it's kind of like almost. I mean, he's involved in a lot of plays that that should be able to help our team. And but it's just one of those things you just got to continue to work. And, I think with the guys that we have here, maybe the competition and practice day in and day out, it may be coming from a different perspective. He may be one of those guys that I bring him off the bench, but he's one of the guys that has played the most. He and Daniel have, and so he knows what the expectations are in our league in terms of playing. But I think he just got to stay positive in his play. You try to do other things. A lot of guys, predicate their game on scoring, but there's other things that you can do. Be an energy guy, take charges, rebound. Be a fixture on defense, defend the toughest, the best player on the other team. I mean, there's some things that you can do other than the scoring part, and that's what people, they translate slumps to, guys scoring, and he's not a big-time scorer, and we know that. There are some games where he scored for us, but we need him to play at a better level than he's playing right now.
You mentioned Reggie. What have you liked about his game since, I guess, he played 5 minutes, didn't score against Florida last Wednesday?
Reggie can. He's one of those guys. He can finish. He can make plays defensively, offensively. If you notice, he touches a lot of balls out there, and he comes up with them. But he rebounds the basketball. He can fix things. He's athletic, and I think he complements Dan out there on the floor. So I'm seeing him grow as a player, and when you really start seeing him when they're consistent night in and night out.
How important is throwing that first punch and showing the fight early on Saturday in that environment?
I think that's probably been our problem. It's kind of like you get hit and then you hit back. But I think getting off to a quick start, I think is going to be very, very important because you can imagine it's going to be should be a great environment. I'm sure they sold a few tickets there. We'll have some Hog fans there as well. But I think important is come off and get off to a good start.